Everybody, welcome to the Trap NFL podcast episode for preseason week 3. I have here Kurt with me.
Hey guys, how's everything going? How have you been?
We're-
Greg, you had a good week. You were a bit sick
Mate,
last week and you were painting your room,
yeah,
so feeling a bit better?
and I just did an epic run today, so I'm pretty stoked.
Yeah, the bridge to Brisbane. How
Yeah,
was that, man?
I did, mate. It was crazy. It was like Niagara Falls weather. At least in the last 2K, where everyone was sprinting, but it was just epic. I'm really stoked as well because like you said, I was sick for the last few weeks, so to do it in that kind of thing, was absolutely incredible. I got the time I wanted as well. It wasn't a PB, but I still got hit my target. And the best thing of all is I was doing a fundraiser for this whole thing, so I managed to not only reach my target but double it as well. So, an achievement I'm really proud of.
Yeah, that's really awesome, man. Do you know if your
Yeah,
donation's
thank you.
still going or has it closed now that you completed the run?
You can still donate. I think it's going for about 1 or 2 more weeks. So anyone listening out there, feel free to. I'll share the link in a bit, but feel free to make a small donation or share with family and friends. It's a fundraiser for Epilepsy Action. I've me to really take this on because I know a few people with epilepsy, so it was really special to really take on this whole thing. And any support is much appreciated, even though the challenge is over.
Yeah, well, that's really awesome, man. We'll get someone to post a link to your donation page on Facebook after this goes live. So,
Awesome. Thank you so
um,
much, guys.
well, to move on to football now, did you get to watch any of the games live this week?
Oh, tell you what, I was pretty much watching it on my phone, like all the highlights,
Yep.
and like I gotta tell you, man, with things changing and all that kind of thing, it's so hard to watch, like especially American sports now. But I love to keep an ear in the action, be it on social media, or or just like on video channels. It's just always nice to keep an ear in the action, that kind of thing. That's what I've been doing this stage.
Yeah, until the regular season kicks off, it's a bit hard to watch it without Foxtel because they have the exclusive rights,
Yeah,
so you can't even stream it here. So yeah,
yeah, absolutely,
once it
absolutely.
kicks off and Seven Mate get their rights back, I'll be watching all those games live. But at the moment, yeah, just keeping up with the highlights. Um,
I tell you, I pretty much agree with you there because when I had a lot more time in my hands, so to speak, it was actually still a challenge to watch all the games because I think a problem with us we're just so isolated. It's
yeah,
like a prime time game, like a nighttime game for over there is like 10 o'clock in the morning over here.
yep,
Good for me, but that's only like problem is it was only one game a week, or
yep,
1 or 2 games a week. Actually no, technically three because there's Thursday night football.
yep.
But majority of the games they're all like 3 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, and I was like, oh, I can't do this.
Yeah, it's definitely kind of hard to watch them live, but keeping up with highlights, keeping up with news. Why don't we go through some of the news that we had come up? So the Jags receiver Marquise Lee had to come off the field on a stretcher with a knee injury. We don't know how severe it is. He could be out for anywhere between like 3 weeks to 6 months, depending if it's like a torn meniscus or ACL. Um, it's not looking super promising. Did you see any of that news? Do you know anything about it?
No, actually, now that you just mention it, like that's actually quite a sting, especially for offense, which is I call the Jags offense like kind of this stage because obviously like with Blake Bortles that's behind center, but you got in saying that though they're not short on weapons on offense. Like you got um Leonard Fournette who's an absolute machine.
Yeah,
I think it's definitely a sting on offense, but I don't think they're short on weapons just yet.
yeah, no,
And
I
and
don't.
then again,
Um,
what I
yeah,
love the nickname. I love the nickname you gave Jacksonville, Saxonville. Like
yeah,
that, just their defense is. I think it will I think like it's not a balanced team for sure, but I don't think like as far as like offensively speaking that they're done just yet. It's definitely a needle, but yeah, they still got weapons on the team that I think it will carry them for at least like as you just said, the 3 to 4 weeks.
yeah, for sure. They're definitely not done because of this by any means. They did lose
Yeah.
some severity or some potency in that offense in their passing game.
Mm.
When they lost Allen in the free agency season. But yeah, it's going to be very much like a ground game for them because I don't think you're gonna want to put it in Bortles' hands, especially if he's throwing to second string
I mean,
receivers.
if they got a strong O line, they're already established themselves as having a pretty solid run game behind Fournette. So I think yeah, with the good blocking, with the good blocking scheme and all that kind of thing, I think the offense will do all right.
Yeah, for
It's just
sure.
that it's just their part. I think their passing game or like receiving game is really their Achilles heel at this point.
It could be. But after watching a lot of preseason games, I feel like a lot of teams are struggling on their passing game. Basically, if you're not the
Mm.
Packers, your passing game is not what it should be. At least in the preseason games that I've watched so far. Um, like I've watched a lot of the rookie QBs, and obviously they're not going to be up to snuff as far as where they should be in the NFL. But um,
Yeah,
even looking at your starters and your second-year quarterbacks, it's looking really unpromising. Like either secondary defenses have got a lot better in the off season, or it could just be something to do with the people not playing as dangerous routes, just making sure that everything's safe. It sounds like you've got a little bit of static coming through your mic when you're not talking, man. Is there like a fan on in the background?
actually, I'm just speaking through my headphones. That's it.
Oh, okay, yeah. It sounds a bit
So
staticky
it's
when
for,
you're not
it's
talking.
for, oh, my bad. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't know if you can fix that or not.
Out there, we're on a really tight budget, so.
Yeah,
Oh, actually, what is a budget?
yeah. Um,
Anyway, we'll move on to the next bit of news. Raven Rook is Deshaun Elliott with the broken arm.
Yeah,
Jeez.
it's sad to see another rookie go down. Darius Geis had a season-ending ACL tear last week. It doesn't look good for Deshaun Elliott. Like that broken arm looked pretty bad. I don't think he's going to be playing any football this year. So
I mean, torn ACLs is one thing, but broken arms just another. That's just the next level, isn't it?
yeah, um,
Mm.
it sucks. It's one of those things where you feel so bad. Like these kids coming into the NFL for the first time, they don't really have anything else that they could do. Except go out there and just throw their bodies on the line in preseason to try and make that 53-man roster. But
Exactly. And I'll build on from there. Like especially like a team that like, well, like I have a lot of respect for the Ravens as well. To see him like just like with especially with a rookie go down like that, it's like you kind of feel for them, you know.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. But I
Um,
do, but then again, I'm questioning whether like how much of an impact it will be ultimately because
yeah, ultimately, I don't think it's gonna have too much of an impact on the Ravens season. It's not like it.
mm,
It's not like they lost Lamar or they lost Flacco or you know, um, it's it could be much worse. But I mean,
mm,
hopefully it's not as bad as it looked. And hopefully
mm.
he gets some scans back and it's something that he can come back from in a couple months. Um, Onto some more interesting news, potentially better news. Josh Gordon has been officially activated by the Cleveland Browns, so he is good to play on the 53-man roster going into the regular
Mm.
season. How much does
Yeah,
this mean for
and that
Cleveland to have Josh Gordon come into the starting lineup alongside the likes of Jarvis Landry in that receiving core?
this as well. Like I found this, I agree with you. This is really more interesting pieces of news because I believe that the Browns offered Des Bryant a short-term contract, which he declined. So it
That's
just
yep.
really shows that with Josh Gordon activated, they're ready to move. They're ready to move on from it already.
That's yeah, 100%. I wonder if he would have been activated if they were able to sign Dez. Because if that's the case, that's a very like dangerous 1 to 3 that you've got there between like Landry, who you can put in the slot, Gordon, you can have running just posts, and Dez can be your inside guy on any slant routes. Um, you've got
Joe
a
Thomas in the
very
and you
dangerous like receiver core there.
and you got his. You forgetting as well. I know he was injured quite a bit of last season, but Joe Thomas in the anchoring the O line, and he can just pretty much
Joe
block
Thomas
anybody.
retired.
Oh boy.
Did you forget that?
So, apologies, viewers. I'm a bit slow at the moment. Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, no.
That's what doing an epic run does to you.
Yeah,
Everyone
for
takes more
sure.
time.
But yeah, no, that's one of the things. Like, if they had Joe Thomas, they could definitely have started to build something that would have been very special this year. I mean, that defense with
And,
Miles Garrett
yeah,
and
yeah. I want to talk about him. I know he's retired and all,
yep.
but watching him, he was pretty damn consistent.
I mean, there's a reason that he'll potentially get into the Hall of Fame. I mean,
He'll be a Hall of Famer.
he's got
He
a
will
very
be. There's no
strong
doubt.
case for it. It just sucks that his entire career went without even sniffing the postseason.
Like he just anchored. I would say he went as far as anchoring team, and for an O lineman to do that, it's just remarkable.
Yeah, he was like the only consistent player on the Browns for like his entire career.
Yeah, because really, absolutely, and like you said on that team as well, and I think O linemen they like seriously like especially individual O linemen, like they definitely deserve a lot more credit.
Oh, for
Like
sure.
if you're talking about like quarterbacks who are throwing like 3+ touchdowns a game to like the like receivers and everything like that, who do you think will get more of the credit? Will it be the guys blocking them or the guys catching the ball?
Obviously, it's going to be the
Obviously, the guys catching the
receivers.
ball.
Yeah,
Yes,
and
and
you
the
can see
guys
that in
throwing
the
the ball
pay.
as well.
Like, yeah,
And that really like shines in the fact that um like I definitely respect like whoever gets the credit for the, like a team success, but like again, it is a team sport, you know?
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
It's one of those
yeah.
things where
Hey,
uh, someone who's deeply invested in football will know the value of having good big men, whereas
pretty
you know
much.
your more casual fan will only know the names of your receivers, your QBs, maybe your running backs.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
but
definitely running backs for sure. Yeah.
um, but as far as like the people that win games, it's the guys that are in the trenches. It's why Philly was so successful last year. It's why you can never count out the Cowboys because they're going to have a brilliant O line always. Um,
I agree. I agree.
Minnesota
And
last year had two of the best front sevens in the entire league. That's why they made it to where they did on their third string quarterback. You know,
Kansas City also had a pretty strong O line as well, didn't they?
absolutely. They just had no
Yeah.
defense.
It was pretty much the offense that did all the talking,
Yeah, I mean,
and a big part of that was their O line.
they also suffered from going full read in the playoffs and losing a 20-point lead to Tennessee in the second half. But like, let's not make KC fans like want to drink more bourbon than they already do. Let's not step pour salt on the wound. But
And it
yeah,
yeah, but I definitely agree with you there. Like guys in the trenches, I think we both agree on the fact that they deserve a lot more credit than they already get.
yeah, um, and yeah,
Anyway, yeah. So apologies about that. We got a bit carried away there. Like obviously with my little fumble there of being behind on the news. But anyway, we'll go on to the next bit. AP signing with the Redskins.
yeah, interesting signing. So it clearly didn't work out so well in New Orleans last year when he tried to go there, and then Alvin Kamara decided to have a breakout year once they got rid of AP. So I think
Yeah,
he went to the Cardinals, right?
yeah. I think he was. I'm not sure if he was released before the end of the regular season, but yeah, he was released eventually.
But yeah, with
Well,
David
man,
Johnson coming back, it makes sense for them to get rid of AP because you're not going to give AP 30 carries with David Johnson in your lineup. You're just not going to do it.
absolutely. And yeah, with him signing with the Redskins, interesting choice. Um, no offense to Redskins fans out there, but I don't think free agency has really worked too well with them overall.
No, it's like there's a YouTuber called Urinating Tree who is one of my favorite YouTubers for sports. And he does this hilarious breakdown of the Redskins in their free agency and their entire like strategy is just throw money at the problem until the problem doesn't exist anymore. But the issue is that they just
The
don't
problem's still
solve the
there.
problems.
The problem's
Like,
still there.
hey, we have
Exactly.
a QB issue. Let's just throw $40 million at Alex Smith and hope it fixes itself. It's like they could have gone up in the draft if they really wanted to go for a long-term solution. Uh,
Yeah.
Darius
You
Geis
got
goes down, so they're like, we
yeah.
need to throw money at AP immediately. Like, this could very well be AP's last year on a team with a mediocre at best O line, and potentially like going to be the bottom of the NFC East. Like, we even have Chance, who's a diehard Redskins fan, and he thinks that they're going to be like 3-13 at best this year.
He was not happy when Kirk Cousins was, released from the team, and Alex Smith was given like pretty much like a pretty big contract, short term but pretty big contract, like with the team. He was just spewing,
Yeah,
and he pretty much just amplified how this happens again and again and again. That was actually I'll go back a bit, like it was way back in like the early last decade that Redskins they chucked a huge amount at like free agency, and they pretty much signed like the all pro team for the late 80s. All pro team for the late 80s.
Yeah, it's definitely not something that Dan Snyder's ever had, the best go at. His free agency has been notoriously bad.
And looking at like AP signing for the Redskins, okay, he's a great player. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. But if you think about it, he's entering his league. Like that's ridiculous. That's like veteran. That's like for veteran
Oh, you're cutting
as a
out a little
running
bit,
back.
bro. Like every couple words, just
Oh
missing.
my bad. I'll just slow down there. But yeah, like like he's gonna be done. Like AP's gonna be done soon for sure because nobody lasts forever in the NFL and that kind of thing, especially a running back.
Of course, and
'Cause
this is
they take a
is it just me, or does this start to remind you of like the Brett Favre goodbye tour, where he would just go from team to team every year until he was eventually like, yeah, I don't want to play anymore. Like this is just cash grabbing at this point.
mention it. That's actually a really good point. I agree with you there.
It's like, yeah, he's been a great player. He's going to the Hall of Fame, but it's just like he's trying to milk every last dollar out of the NFL that he can get. Like he's not
That's
a
it.
tier
Yeah.
one running back anymore. He's not going to go to a team like the Pats that are genuinely competing and take, a low ball offer. He's looking for the money before he has to leave the league.
And man, sort of like few seasons.
Yeah.
Like he's just stretching out as much as he can before he's gonna like, yep, I can't do it anymore,
Yeah.
or I don't want to do it anymore. That kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's very
Yeah,
interesting to
that
me
goes.
like that he decides to go
Yeah.
to the worst team in the NFC East, who have
Worst
like
team in free agency at least.
I mean no, like just the NFC East have three teams that could genuinely win the division. The Redskins are not one of them.
No. I agree with you on the point that the Redskins won't wait, but you really genuinely believe that any of the other three NFC teams can win the division.
Oh, absolutely. Like I joke about the
Okay.
Giants like having a 5-win season, but like realistically, if Eli decides to stop doping around for 6 quarters like every game, he could actually give them a 10-win season, and that could buy the division with how tight it is.
Yeah. I think their offense is definitely more stacked at the moment. I mean, you got a receiving core, especially with Odell back. Hopefully, he stays healthy. You got Saquon Barkley, Evan Engram. That's another key receiver, or who's soon to be key receiver.
Yep, Sterling
I
Shepard.
think
Like
that
it's a
offense is
good
yeah.
core. Like it's a very good group. Like
Mm.
again, that team
And
is going to be limited by Eli and how good he plays.
yeah, it's all down to him pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Anyway, we'll go
moving
to the
on
next
to
piece
the
next.
only other team that could potentially take the division off the Eagles is the Cowboys, and oh boy, do they have some O-line injuries that we need to talk about. Their starting center was diagnosed with Guillain-Barré's disease, which is terrible. I hope for the best for him that he has a quick road to recovery. It's not a nice disease, but he's been confirmed to have like no timeline on his return, so he could be out for potentially the entire season, depending on the severity of his disease. And a center is something that's so important to an offense. So you have to have such good chemistry between your QB, your wide receivers, your running backs, and your center, because that's the person that snaps the ball. It's the person who's going to rely on hard counts. It's the person who's basically
Center,
controlling
but
when things happen. And the Cowboys O
the
line has been like the stalwart of that offense for the last 10 years. With him
we
going
talked
down
about
and their tackle went down as well. I think last week against the Bengals. Um, yeah, who really knows like what could happen with the Cowboys this season?
I agree with you there, and again, like if your O line's struggling or that kind of thing, there goes Dak Prescott having a good game. There goes Zeke Elliott having a good game, and so forth.
Yeah, I think Zeke's a bit different. I think Zeke is a transcendent talent. You could put him into any offense and he'll have nearly 1,000 yard season, like as long as he's not suspended.
Oh, definitely,
Um,
definitely.
so I don't think
He's up
he's yeah, I don't think he's something to have to worry about. It's how much time does Dak now get in that pocket? It's how much time does he have for Beasley to try and create an opening? Like that's the
there.
worrying part. Like they can always just dump it off
Yeah.
to Elliott, and Elliott's always going to have a good season. It's
I
how
want
does
to
the rest of the
ask you.
offense work?
Ask you, what's your thoughts on their receiving core? Obviously, like losing Dez is kind of a big blow.
Yeah. I think it's middle of the
But
pack. I'm not going to say that they're trash. I think that'd be a little bit, disingenuous, and just trying to bag on
and
Cowboys. But
you're pretty much implying that they're reliable but not great.
yeah, exactly. Like when I say middle of the pack, I mean somewhere between like the 14th ranked and 20th ranked receiving core in the league.
Fair
Um,
enough.
like there's a lot of teams that fit into that. They're mediocre but not great. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, hell, even the Eagles only have barely an above average receiving core, and that they look better because of the QB that's thrown to them. Like you saw it
Just
with Jeffries in at the Bears in Chicago. He didn't look like the receiver he did look like last year. He looked like a legitimate number one last year.
yeah, and like you said, like your blockers were pretty much giving your QBs just time,
Oh yeah,
and
and
that was just
not just that. Like you look at some of the throws that Carson Wentz makes. He's got two people hanging off him. He's got tackles coming at him. He ducks out of things and he throws a 60-yard dart right on the face mask of the receiver anyway. It's
that
ridiculous.
man is the complete. That man is a complete package.
Absolutely.
Like he's just like he like for sure he hasn't. He's definitely one of the league's elite, and he hasn't even peaked yet.
Exactly. He's coming into his third season off an ACL. Hopefully it doesn't cause him too much of a worry. But yeah, like
Are you calling?
The Eagles
Are
have
you
a.
calling comeback player of the year?
I don't know. He's got to compete with
Actually,
Deshaun Watson and Andrew Luck in just the QB role. So,
actually, no. Like he did compete for the majority of the season, I guess. Like
oh, he was an absolute MVP candidate at the end of the last season. But,
yeah,
yeah, between like him,
well, MVP
Deshaun,
candidate.
Andrew Luck, like the QB position is going to be amazing to watch this season.
I agree. I agree. I agree. Absolutely agree.
So yeah, if anybody who's a QB fanatic would love it. To see all of the big names and all of like the passing that should happen this season.
Big guy.
Um,
I know you're definitely all about the QB.
yeah, I'm definitely an offense guy. I do like what I see out of most of the rookies. Haven't got to see two of the rookies play this week because Buffalo and the Cardinals play tomorrow, I believe. Yeah, tomorrow morning. So haven't been able to see
Okay.
Rosen or Allen, both of the Joshes play. But anyone who's been listening to the podcast so far knows that I'm absolutely swooning over Allen, and I've made multiple references to him being Carson Wentz like. And yeah, so I'm very interested to see how he goes and whether or not he's able to turn into the starting QB that everyone thinks he is.
Anyway,
Um,
we'll move on.
moving on to another one of the rookie QBs, where Baker Mayfield led the Browns against the Eagles to a 5-0 win. Did you get to watch any of this game?
Really, I did see that though that he didn't. I believe he. I think Mayfield didn't really have a spectacular game.
Yeah.
Like again, like they got the win, which is great.
Yep.
For preseason. But yeah, I heard like I believe he didn't score any touchdowns, but also threw a pick as well.
There was no TDs in
Against
this
the Eagles.
game. Yeah, he threw one pick. It could have been two. It could have been three
Yeah.
almost. But yeah.
But it is Eagles defense. Let's remember that.
They sack fumbled Nick Foles in the end zone for a safety. That was just Myles Garrett showing how good he is off the edge.
I completely forgot about that boy. Oh, I should have known.
Yeah, and then basically it was just an absolute shit fight, where no one
So
could get to the other red zone, and it was just incompetence from offenses.
yeah, so pretty much it was pretty much a defensive game.
Yeah, I mean it shows. Like, I mean I've got this in a later note, but Baker looks like he is capable of playing with the first team. He's not capable of going up against that Eagles defense though. Like that Eagles first string defense tore him to shreds when he had to come in for Tyrod. When Tyrod Taylor had to go off with that hand injury and Baker played against the firsts, you could tell that it's on a different level to what he's come up against so far.
Yeah, definitely.
It makes me not super worried about the Eagles defense. Like we're not even playing all of our defensive starters yet. It's still on rotation. It's still looking promising for the year. But man, 14 drives in a row with Nick Foles where no points have come of it. That's not no touchdowns. That's no points. That's either losing the drive early through to like a sack, sorry, going 3 and out, or an interception. So like that's just super worrying. Like that's meant to be our QB, who was the Super Bowl MVP. That it's probably going to start week 1, and we can't, as a first string, going up against the Cleveland defense, even get points. So as an Eagles fan, that's very worrying. I know we won't see the firsts next week. So I'm just hoping to God that they get it together by week 1.
Yeah, and seeing it like just like any fan and like watching their team, they would hope for like that if they're in that situation, just pretty much like just to get it together and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Last season.
But again, it's preseason. I don't put too much stock into the results.
Exactly.
Like I keep saying, Cleveland went 4-0 in their preseason games last year. They went 0-16 in the regular season. Like it doesn't reflect how your team will actually play. It's a good chance to look at your rookies. It's a good chance to look at, how teams are gelling. But at the end of the day, don't worry if your team's 0-3 in the preseason, like the Eagles are. It is worrying to see things like Nick Foles struggling as much as he is, but he doesn't have Aguilar out there. He doesn't have Jeffries out there. So, yeah, I'm not going to make excuses, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to put blame on Nick Foles for not having, playing up to the standards he set for himself in the Super Bowl.
I agree with that. It's a preseason game, Jets and Giants.
Yep,
So,
your New York Giants.
My Big Blue. I won't count on us as being playoff teams yet, but we'll see. Anyway, resting Barkley, but we still overcame the Jets. Defense is definitely looking much better, and offense is coming together with OBJ and Barkley in regular season. As you mentioned before, we're only really limited to how Eli does behind the pocket. Oh, sorry, behind the center.
Yeah. So this game was really good from a Giants fan's perspective. It looked like everyone's stepping up, and it looks like there's a lot more effort. I think the word is to use. Like you can tell that people aren't giving up on plays, which is super important. The secondary is looking back to what it should be. Like I know you're a huge defensive fan, so you should. Like I'm sure you were like just ecstatic when you started to see like how the Giants defense actually started to come together and play.
Definitely. I agree with you. And interesting move from the off season was releasing DRC, who for the last few seasons has been a key player in our secondary.
Yep.
Form like that, it was just like it was a really good sign. I know it's preseason, but just to see him like still like like just in like overall improving, especially from last season, that kind of thing. It's a really good sign.
Yeah, and I mean like
So,
this is a
pretty
team
confident.
still without OBJ, still without Barkley. So it should be interesting to see how they play in the regular season. As long as everyone can stay healthy, this could be a really good Giants offense, a really good Giants outfit.
But I'm gonna put it out there. The NFL's really like one of the most unpredictable things I can think of.
Oh, it's so unpredictable.
So
The NFC is even more unpredictable. Like,
you beat me to it again.
yeah. But on the other side of the coin, the Jets looked okay. Donald is doing what he should be doing. I think he's still a bit raw, but he could definitely start. I'd like to see Josh
Definitely.
McCown under center, just at least for the first half of the season. If everything's gone to
Yeah.
gone to trash after that,
Mm.
then sure, bring in Donald and let him play out the rest of the regular season to get that experience. But I like what I see.
Absolutely.
Playing with the first string offense, he looks okay. Again, it's just he suffers from not having any weapons around him. Like this is by far the most promising QB to come out of the draft. Like I still think that the Giants made a mistake passing on him. I don't know what your opinion is on that, being a Giants fan.
Yeah. Again, it was either gonna come down to Barkley or Donald getting picked in our in the second pick of the draft. I still back picking Barkley because we really needed to pick up our running game, and I think Barkley's the answer for that.
Yeah, the question is, do you think that having Barkley, who is a generational talent, is worth potentially giving up the next 10 years of a franchise QB? Because like
You got to
Darnold's like as
yeah.
close as it comes, or as close as it's come since like Andrew Luck to being like a surefire thing out of college.
I agree. Like either pick was going to be great for its own reasons, but given the current circumstances, because you got to remember that. I'm gonna go. I'm definitely gonna go rogue here. Uh, like I think Davis Webb's definitely like our future QB.
Ooh, okay, that's a bold prediction. It's a pity we don't have Chance here for his bold predictions, but he's
Like,
stepping up in his place.
well, prediction, yes, but great QBs don't always come out of like the first round of the draft.
No, of course not.
They do without doubt, yes. But there are other great QBs come out other rounds of the draft and that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
And there's QBs who like come out like in the first or second round, not just the first round, just any rookie QB and all that kind of thing. Okay, yeah, some of them do like obviously start from game one and that kind of thing, and that's obviously a team decision, seeing how like whatever the coach thinks best and all and so forth. And for many reasons, I can count from more than the fingers I have in my hands. But I think in our current situation, I really do believe that we got Davis Webb in like in the previous draft because like I think he'll definitely like once his time comes, we'll be ready to lead the reins for our team. And like you said, we got an offense stacked with talent now.
Yeah.
We got, like OBJ.
OBJ comes off contract at the end of next year. Is that right?
Yeah, but the Giants will like they're not stupid. They're gonna understand we need the guy.
Oh, obviously they're going
And
to
they're
pay
gonna
him, but like that's a huge hit
Yeah.
to the salary cap. Like that is massive. It means that you can't go out and get a veteran QB at market price. Like,
Again, I believe like given the circumstances that's probably the right move.
mm,
It's so clear. Like even someone who isn't a fan of the NFL in general, they will see that we need this guy.
yeah,
Regardless of the circumstance, we need this guy. He's like just absolutely vital. And we saw it last season. As soon as he went down, things just went tits up, and it just pretty much imploded on each other.
oh,
Like,
for sure. Like everyone can see that the Giants need OBJ, but again, the question coming back to it is Barkley going to be worth it? Because you could have had your pick at
I think
Darius
so.
Geis in the second. It could have been
I know,
Nick Chubb,
I know.
you know. Um,
I think it was the right pick.
well,
I think it was the right pick.
only time will tell, but yeah,
Yeah.
for now, but from what we've seen of Barkley, he looks amazing. Sitting out at the moment with a hamstring injury, but hopefully he's good to go for week one, and we can see some of that talent come out.
But if you want my summary and all this, Kurt, I think both the Jets and the Giants they made the right choice in picking like in the first round, pretty much like players who are going to lead their teams into the future.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I think they both made the right choice.
Yeah, so unfortunately for Sam
Yeah.
Darnold, as we were going back, I'll just summarize it again. He looks good.
Hmm.
It's just that the Jets need to build on it. Like they need to put some weapons
Yeah.
around him so he can really succeed.
As soon as they put weapons around him and all that kind of thing, like, oh, he's gonna be dangerous for sure.
All right, again to another
Anyway,
NFC East team. It's
okay.
almost like I wrote this as an NFC East fan. Redskins went up against the Broncos. So this was the first game, and the Skins started AP. So obviously he's playing with the first string team. So I assume that's where they're going to play him as their either number one or number two running back. They looked pretty good. I mean, as far as like what I could see on their offense, they looked fine. Alex Smith is, he's what he's always going to be. He's going to be that number 10 to like 15 QB in like the league. He's going to be good, but not like amazing. Again, he doesn't have that many like passing threats down the field. It's not KC as far as like their receiving threats go.
Who
But-
are his like his receiving weapons? I mean,
That's a good question.
I can only think if this guy stays healthy, I can only think of Jordan Reed. Or
Pretty
Vernon
much.
Davis as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, they don't have any like big names. Like their two tight ends are good. Um, again, if Reed can stay healthy, he's good. But
Vernon Davis showed last season he was pretty reliable for a
yeah,
team.
I mean, I had Vernon Davis in fantasy, and he did me good, except for like the 1 week he got 0 points. God damn
What I
it.
res- what I respect though, what I respect about Davis, he's an absolute veteran.
Oh, absolutely.
That like it's just like this guy's not done yet.
Um, but yeah, no. So I
Do you think with the Redskins seeing? Sorry to interrupt. Do you think with the Redskins seeing how Vernon Davis what performed last season, do you think it was an influential factor
behind what, man?
like just seeing how like a veteran like Davis was performing? I know like this is a pretty crazy question, but do you think seeing how Davis was performing, do you think like that was an influential factor for the Redskins signing AP as a free agent?
Maybe. I think the reason,
No.
I think the pure reason that they signed him is they were like, oh, Darius Geis is not playing this season. We need another running back threat because it's kind of hard to go out into free agency and look for a wide receiver that's going to be serviceable on the cheap. It doesn't look like Dez wants to sign for any anything that's not a starter contract. Um,
Which is stupid.
he does want to go to an NFC East team though, so maybe he would take the pay cut to go to the Redskins. I'm not sure. Um, there could be a very good fit.
Yeah, I think that cap spaces are really limited with like Josh Norman on a monster contract.
Yeah, again,
Alex Smith as well.
their free agency is not good. Their money management is not good. They don't have a GM where, it's not Howie at the helm where you can guarantee that they're going to be doing well, as far as cap space goes. But I mean, you just mentioned Josh Norman. That secondary looks fine. It looks very good actually.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
I mean, sure, the Redskins aren't the best at free agency, but they have had some good runs. Like, so they have had some good signings, and Josh Norman is definitely a good example for that.
absolutely. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, so like he's
Yeah.
obviously leading the team from back there, and you can see it in their pass game. Their pass game looks really good. They can't stop the run because like at the secondary level, in the linebacker level, it looks like they're not getting up to stop the run fast enough. And it looks like
Yeah.
the D line aren't getting off their blocks quick enough to be able to make the tackles at that first line, at the first level.
Pretty much.
But yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
like the Redskins are exactly what I think they're going to be, which is going to be a mediocre team this season. So I'm not super surprised.
And speaking of free agency,
Yeah, speaking of free agency.
yeah, how about Case Keenum behind center for the Broncos?
Look, I really like it. I think Case Keenum has the potential to have a year, maybe just a step down from what he did at Minnesota. He doesn't exactly have the receiving core that they have at the Vikings because that is a tier 1 receiving core up there with Diggs and Thielen.
Because in the Broncos, isn't it like Thomas and Sanders?
Yeah, it's not a bad
As
receiving
his
core by
receiving core? Yeah.
any means, but it's not what they had in Minnesota.
Mm.
Not to mention that he's going up against a pretty weak division, so he could in theory have a really good season.
Do you think the most dangerous team in the division is the? Oh, let me ask you, who do you think is the most dangerous team in the division?
Besides the Broncos, I'd have to say the Chiefs, eh? Yeah, it's either the Chiefs or the Chargers. Like, I have the Chargers winning the division, but again, I can't. I mean, putting stock in the Chargers is like, putting all your money on black at roulette. It's 50-50, man.
Pretty much.
But yeah, like
But we'll see how that goes.
the Chiefs are 100% dependent on how good Pat Mahomes is, and I don't like it. I don't like what I've seen so far anyway of Pat Mahomes. But I mean that Broncos offense looks fine. Their run game looks really good. Keenum looks like he's a game manager, which is what he was hired to be. Their defense should be back to what it was. It's not a no-fly zone with Talib leaving, but it's still good.
So, that dude's an absolute machine.
Oh,
I think closest linebacker to LT.
Talib. Philippe's
No,
plays
no, no.
corner, doesn't he?
Von Miller.
Oh yeah, Von.
Von
Oh,
Miller.
Von Miller is just crazy good. He's
He's a beast.
yeah, and like with Chubb, like as the other the end on the other side, it could be just a disgusting combo.
Yeah.
Um,
Who?
but yeah,
So yeah, that was in a nutshell. So a lot of chat about a surprising amount of chat about free agency on that one.
yeah. I
Anyway,
mean,
we'll move on to the next one.
yep. Panthers and
So we
Pats.
got the
I don't know if you
what can you
managed
say
to
about that
see
one?
any of this game. It was boring. That is the best way to describe this game. And I know that that's the way that a lot of people describe Bill Belichick games as boring, but this was genuinely boring. This was like, oh hey, neither of our teams can throw the ball. Let's just like throw like 6 yard slants and screens and just have our running backs just hit the C gap again and again and again. And then you get to the red zone and you can't convert, so you just kick the field goal. And they did that for
Yeah.
2 halves, and then the first stringers went off, and I stopped watching because I was like, I don't care anymore.
See, this is why special teams aren't really that popular. Your kickers and all that.
Like, I have a kicker that I love because he plays for the Eagles and Jake Elliott, and
You
my
got
man,
Elliott in your fantasy team.
I did last year, and then Chance stole him
Oh.
from me. If anyone remembers watching the live draft,
I really. We're talking about fantasy there,
yeah.
but yeah, you have Jake Elliott on the Eagles. Yeah, who is definitely up there as one of the best kickers in the league.
And I mean, like, there's clutch kickers that come into their own. Like, you've got Matt Prater, Adam Vinatieri. Like, there are kickers that make a name for themselves. But, yeah, this game was just boring. Like, and, like, this is the team with Cam Newton and Tom Brady, and who should be really good on offense, and they just weren't.
What? Oh man, that's a worry.
Like, I just didn't enjoy anything that I watched. It was like, yeah.
Bloody hell.
I mean, maybe, like, I can't even think, because, like, Edelman was in this game, so, like, they had everything going for them. The only thing is that they have Amendola went to Miami, right?
They have Chris Hogan.
Yeah, so they've got Chris Hogan in for Amendola, which is, like, maybe a slight downgrade, but still, like, that's... And, like, they don't have Brandon Cooks, I mean, it's still, like...
I mean, they still have the Gronk.
Yeah, and it'll be good to see Gronk in, like, the regular season, because he has to be double teamed, which opens up a lot of the passing lanes for everyone else.
Team doesn't stop him. That dude's just scary in his own right.
Yeah, he's a machine.
Oh,
Absolute machine.
It's a scary dude who's like, how remarkable is it? He's like, I love the guy, no doubt. Just like, but we're just scared of him. What he can do.
I mean, you have to be as a defensive player. Like, you can't let Gronk get one-on-one, especially against a smaller cornerback. Like, he'll just burn them every time.
I'm not just the cornerbacks, but like, just know what, like, it's so hard to stop him.
Yeah, like, you put a cornerback against him, he's going to burn them just, like, with his size. You put a linebacker on him, he's going to burn him with speed. Like, you have to two-man the guy. You have to commit a safety to him, and that opens up so much. And with Brady's precision, like, he's going to make you pay for it, whether he gets the ball or not. But, I mean...
And even with Gronk double teams and all that kind of thing, I'm not counting, like, I'm still thinking the Pats will get a first down at the very most if he's double teamed.
Yeah, I mean...
Scary. The dude's just scary.
Yeah.
He's just a Goliath. Absolute Goliath.
Yeah, but again, this was a defense-driven game. I think the first-string defenses were pretty much at full strength for both sides, and it showed. There was a lot of...
So another defense again.
Yeah, look, from what I saw, there was a lot of 3-and-outs. A lot of just like, oh, we're not doing anything, let's just punt it. I think there was a total of like 9 points... 12 points combined in the first half. All punts. All field goals, sorry, not punts. Yeah, it was just... It wasn't a game that was fun to watch.
I can see now.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll go our last preseason game to talk about.
I know we got heaps more games. It's just that's all that we've got notes on. I've got a couple more games that I want to talk about, but
yeah. Anyway, we'll go to the last one we put that as noteworthy. It was Vikings and Seahawks in the Twin City.
Yeah. Again, this was a game that was kind of fun to watch in the beginning. the Vikings offense is going to be good. Kirk Cousins look like he's starting to really gel with that offensive um, lineup, their offensive weapons. They've got Dalvin Cook back. They've got that receiving core in Thielen and Diggs. Um, they could seriously give Green Bay a good run for their money to win the division.
Yeah, I'm gonna call it. I think they are I'm gonna call them favorites for the division. I know it's only preseason, but I think they got a team that's so strong, especially on both sides of the ball, that really I think they can control the division.
On paper, they have the better team. They just do. But then
but
you have to
I
factor
agree.
in the Rodgers factor. Like,
Yeah, like I agree. Green Bay is as usual their biggest threat.
yeah.
I think they'll have the edge.
Mm.
Purely because if you think about it, they're just overall just a better team.
Yep.
Paper, they're a better team. Like I'm saying, from both sides of the ball, they're a better team. Like that gives them the edge for being a better team, that kind of thing. Like Green Bay's great, no doubt, but like that's a team I just pictured being great on one side of the, or more so on one side of the ball.
Yeah, I mean, they did pick up two cornerbacks in the draft, so well, they pick up cornerback and safety. Either way, they contributed a lot of resources to their defense, and especially in their secondary, which has been their weak point. Their front seven's been alright. Their linebackers are okay, serviceable.
But yeah, the linebackers. The linebacker stands out to me is Clay Matthews, who's an absolute beast.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely Green Bay and Vikings are definitely front running that division. Yeah, that division.
I'm gonna give the edge to the Vikings.
Yeah, and I mean, again, on paper
Yeah.
they do look like the better team, but you know,
Yeah.
you just have to count on A-Rod and the Green Bay Packers. But yeah, so like
Right.
Vikings looked really good. Their pass game was great. Kirk Cousins looked like he's finally getting in tune with the game plan. So
On the flip side, what do you have to say about the Seahawks?
look, I have these guys set down as like my train wreck of the season, but they played really well. Um, Again, it's Russell Wilson is to me the exact same as Aaron Rodgers. He is a top 5 quarterback in the league. It doesn't matter what O-line you put him behind. He's going to throw the ball and get it to receivers and put it in places where no other human being on the planet could do it. Um,
I think he's more of a scrambler though.
I mean, he has to because he has no O-line. Like, I guarantee you, if you put him behind like Philly's O-line, he wouldn't scramble. He would be a pure pocket passer, and his production would go through the roof. But the fact is that he is that guy who has that same skill set as Rodgers, where he can roll out of the pocket, he can climb it, he can shake off tackles and run away from defenders, all while throwing a dart 40 yards down the field and hitting a receiver on the face mask. It's crazy what he can do. So, like, if you ever see my notes in these for these episodes, it's Wilson does Wilson things, and that's literally all I have to write because, like, that's what he does. It's Rodgers
Yeah.
does Rodgers things. I don't have to write what he did because we know what that means.
Those are good examples of players who can just virtually carry the team.
Yeah, it's crazy what he can do. Again, from the same footage in the game, the O-line is worrying. Like, he's going to take a hit eventually that's going to put him on the sideline, like what happened to Rodgers. There's only so many times that he can scramble and still throw that pass and get away with it before he's going to land on his shoulder and injure something.
Yeah.
And man, just the Legion of Boom has crumbled. It's going to be way harder for them to control teams on defense than it has been in the past. It's going to come down to a lot of how much time of possession can they keep on the offense. But I mean, they're going to still score points. Don't you worry about that. Like, they're going to score 20 points a game. It's just whether or not they can hold the other team down.
And I agree. That's a fair surmise as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
we've got a couple of games that I wanted to talk about as well. The Rams and Texans, which was my game of the week last week, was awesome. Like, the first couple drives were Deshaun throws like a 60-yard bomb that gets picked. Then Goff goes and throws a pick straight away that gets returned to like the 5-yard line, and then the Texans run it in for a TD. Like, that is the worst start to a game. That is like the funnest start to a game. This was a great game to watch. These are the two teams that I think are going to be really good this season. I picked up Deshaun Watson in my fantasy team because I have huge faith in the guy that between him and DeAndre Hopkins, he is going to throw a boatload of TDs this season. Chance thinks that Chance loves Goff. Chance is like literally in love with Jared Goff. Um, and I'm pretty sure that like if he could pick any QB to go to the Redskins, he would choose Goff. Um, I don't think he's that good, but man, do they have just the scariest roster in the NFL this year. I mean, look at their pickups on free agency, on their defensive side, on their offensive side. The way that they've drafted in the last couple of years has been amazing. Sean McVay will find ways to do things that no other head coach in the league can do on the offensive side of the ball.
I mean, just pick. I think just pick you up Ndamukong Suh on free agency just like sets the tone really.
Oh,
For
for
like,
sure.
Yeah.
The other game that I got to watch a lot of was the 49ers and Colts. Again, Jimmy Garoppolo is just Garoppolo goat. He's just so good.
Yeah, with the elites.
Yeah, I'd say he's top 10 for sure. I don't know where he sits inside there. Like he's around Carson Wentz's level.
I think it comes down to like who's he playing with as well.
Yeah, I mean, like San Francisco look really good. Like their offense looks really good. Their defense will be able to play. I mean, again, they've got Kyle Shanahan, which is one of those offensive minds in football that is going to like just get the ball open. He's going to get TDs, and now he's got a QB that is more than serviceable. So we saw them go on a 5-win streak to end the season last year. I think you'd be crazy to say that they're not going to give the Rams a really good run for their money.
Pretty much, and like I could have said it better myself in that case.
Yeah, I did get to watch a couple other games. I didn't really see anything like super noteworthy. The Saints got to beat up on the Chargers. Derwin James made an amazing pick off Drew Brees where the ball was put perfectly, and he just went up and got it over the top of the wide out. It was just beautiful to watch because like I think he was the biggest steal of the draft. I don't know how he got to the Chargers, but yeah, he looks good. Trying to think what else was like super notable. I watched a bit of the Jaguars game, and again, Marquise Lee getting injured really sucks for them, but that defense looks good. Fournette's going to run for 1,000 yards. Like it's just going to be one of those seasons again where they'll be competing in postseason football.
Yeah, one thing I want to ask you, I just realized as well, I know this is like kind of off topic from these games and that kind of thing. Talk to me about another rookie QB. Sorry, I'm just like pitching this from out of the blue. Talk to me. We've been talking quite a bit about like as we summed up the preseason games about Baker and Dunn and all that. Talk to me about Jackson.
I don't like Lamar Jackson at all. I think
You don't think he's
I see Tim Tebow written all over this kid, and it hurts to say that. It hurts to say that. Like he's not a Johnny Manziel. He's not going to go and play up. It's just I think that he needed to be drafted in the second or third round purely for the fact that he needs to sit for a year. Like you can tell, this poor kid is going to be thrown in the deep end. He already is, and just like he's going to be eaten alive because that Baltimore offense is built around Joe Flacco, who is just a man that goes deep every time with the ball. Like that's where his strengths lie, is just going deep. It's why I love the fact that they picked up RG3 as a bridge, because RG3 will be a better fit for Lamar as far as the offense goes than it would be to plot him into a Flacco offense. So, I mean, he's an amazing athlete. Regardless of what anyone has to say, he is an amazing athlete. The kid runs something like a 4.4 flat. You can see it, like in it when he ran for his TD this week. It was an amazing run. But again, he's just struggling with his progressions. He loses his place in the pocket too much. He can't get the ball out deep with any consistency. His accuracy is the lowest out of all of the rookie QBs, and people were worried about Allen's accuracy issues. Yeah, like I like what he could be. I don't like the situation he's been put in, where it's probably going to be, he's probably going to start week 6 or something like that, where they're just going to be like, look, we're like 2-3 in week 5. Let's start Lamar, and it's going to be so bad for the kid. He needs probably a year to mature. Like if he can do what Pat Mahomes did and sit and then come out and be the guy that the Baltimore Ravens need him to be, that'd be amazing. But I don't see that happening. And from what I see at the moment, I don't see an NFL ready quarterback.
So you're saying it's not really a promising thing here?
I mean, it's promising in the fact that if he is able to sit and learn, he can be a franchise QB. No doubt about it. Like, the kid has talent. It's just, is he ready to be a franchise QB right now? No, not even close. Like, in my eyes, from what I've seen, it's Darnold, then Baker, then Allen, Rosen, Lamar Jackson. I think they went pretty much in order, except for like Darnold being better than Baker, of how ready they are to start. Um, and yeah, it's just I feel really like I love watching Lamar Jackson play. He's so electric out of the pocket. When things break down, he can take off for that 10-yard line and dive before like a linebacker can get to him. Like if he can start stretching the field and he can start getting some really good movement off out of that secondary, then he can turn those like broken down plays into 10, 15-yard gains with his speed. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as he learns not to take the hit. Um, but yeah, it's just I hope for his sake that he's not forced into the game too early.
We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
What about you? Have you been able to watch any of like Lamar? Like, what do you see from him?
Agree with you. Like again, like this comes down to like what Baltimore decided to do with him. If they decided to start him way too soon, that kind of thing, there's going to be consequences. But if they decide to sit him for a bit, and rely more on the more established QB on the team, I think it'll really pay off.
Yeah, I mean, RG3 looks really good. Like, don't get me wrong, I really like the look of RG3. I think he could compete with Flacco for the starting job almost. And I think that'd be even better for them. Like, I know Joe Flacco's on this monster contract, but if you have RG3 as your starting quarterback, then Lamar can come in and he can play the same style of offense. But yeah, again, yeah, I agree with you. He's definitely in a situation where the more time he gets on the sideline, the better.
I think it's just like, yeah, I agree with you. Like, it's one of those things, like, just starting him is just too soon. He's not ready.
What do you think about the other quarterbacks? Do you think that they're ready to start? Like, there's some talk going around the league, in some news sources and media, that Sam Darnold might get the Week 1 starting job off Josh McCown.
I think, yeah, I picture him as a starter,
But from what you've seen at the moment, do you think he's ready to start Week 1?
You know what? I reckon I say yes, because seeing him on the field, it just shows like this comes back to why I think the Giants and Jets made the right picks for the draft, because like put him as see him in just going through preseason games, how he was able to control the offense, just how much like we're talking about a rookie QB here, who's I believe it was it was in an earlier episode that he just looked like a veteran player out there, just like by the way he was just like getting those first downs and like pretty much like gaining yardage and eventually scoring. Really shows that he's definitely fit for the starting job, and that comes back to my point why I think the Jets made the right pick, without doubt, because this guy is ready, and this is a team we're talking about which complete package of offensive weapons, because we can go from receivers to the running game and all that kind of thing, and you just see this guy playing with such confidence and control. Yeah, if the opportunity is out there for him to start in Week 1, not only is he going to take it, but he's going to make the most of it.
Oh, for sure. I think he'd make the most of it. Personally, I'm going to say no. I think even if he is ready to go Week 1, I think if Josh McCown is injured Week 1, you put in Teddy Bridgewater. Like, you just sign Teddy Bridgewater to the 50-man roster and you go, you're our number 2 QB. So yes, we understand that Darnold is there. He's ready to play. But why do that to him when you can put in Teddy? Like, Teddy's good.
Yeah.
If he didn't have that horrific injury in Minnesota, he's probably the franchise QB up there. So yeah, like to me, I see no reason to play Darnold. I think the only thing that you can do is destroy the kid's confidence because you could turn him into Andrew Luck, where you look at
Yeah,
Andrew Luck, who was like the most like for sure fire thing since Peyton Manning to come out of college, and he's just been destroyed by the Colts. Like the amount of hits
Joe
he's
is like,
taken. Like
yeah,
he didn't throw a football for nearly 2 years. Not only did he not play, he nearly didn't throw a football for 2 years. Like that's how bad it got.
mm.
So like to me, I would rather see Donald sit, do what Pat Mahomes did. You're getting rid of Josh McCown at the end of the season anyway, then start him. Like,
I mean, fair enough.
but yeah, I mean that's just my 2 cents on the matter. I think
Yeah,
Donald's good. I think Donald is by far the most ready out of all of them.
yeah.
But even then, I wouldn't start him if I was the GM of the Jets.
Fair enough. We both like pointed out like totally differentiated reasons, but they make sense either way.
Yeah. And I guess the last QB that we saw this week was Baker go up against the Eagles. I mean, he might have suffered a concussion. He did go off the field for it, but I don't think anything came back. I don't think he's been like put on the injury list or anything. Um, do you think he's ready to start week 1? Because there's some talk. There's some talk about him taking it from Tyrod. I mean, everything coming out of the Browns camp says Tyrod, but
Mm.
there's whispers.
Honestly, man, that's a good question if he's ready to start or not.
Yeah.
I mean, the guy, like you say Sam Darnold's like the most ready out of all of them, which is without doubt. I agree with you. Comes right behind Sam Darnold's. It's probably in my view probably Baker Mayfield as the most ready.
Mm.
But start him in week 1 and pretty much name him starter for the season. Again, tough question because I don't like personally seeing how they already have Tyrod Taylor, so
Yeah, and I'm a huge Tyrod fan.
yeah. So it would like honestly, I think like yeah, like I agree with you. Like sticking to Tyrod Taylor, just starting for like at least the first few games and that kind of thing. But no, knowing the Browns just being the Browns, Baker instead.
I completely 100% agree with that last statement. The Browns do Browns things. I just hope that they don't. I hope that they
Yeah,
do the right thing by this kid. They give him the best chance to start, the best chance to be the QB that he can be, rather than throwing him under the bus and making him go full Tebow.
pretty much.
Unfortunately, we don't have any other.
I love how you mentioned it. Yeah, I just love how you keep mentioning like just a QB gone wrong is just Tim Tebow. I love how you mentioned that.
I mean, it's just like the worst story ever. Like this guy that
I mean,
was amazing
yeah.
coming out of college, and then all of a sudden people are chanting for him to come on the field, and it's like he's clearly not ready, and then he just gets all the confidence knocked out of him, and he's a punt holder or like a kick holder for like the rest of his career until he like quits. Like that feels bad.
I mean, without doubt. I mean, like, yeah, you just feel bad for the guy because,
Yeah.
and
But
it really, I think, like, just him as like, actually, like, just like pretty much just like everything's just gone wrong for him. It really raises the question for me: is who's next?
yeah, exactly. Like there's always busts in every draft. I mean, if you have as many QBs coming out of the draft in the first round as we had this year, one of them has to be a bust. Like it's just statistics. Um, but
Definitely.
yeah,
Yeah.
the other two rookie QBs haven't played yet. We get to see. I think it's the Bills go to the Bengals tomorrow morning, and then the Cardinals will host the Cowboys. Um, just really quick, since we don't have much to talk about for the game tape this week, what do you think of like both of the Joshes so far?
Jalen Rosen.
Yep, Rosen and Allen.
I haven't really thought too much about, but like QBs who will get a lot more. Obviously, like most other like rookie QBs, they'll get a lot more if they're like not jump like thrown into like the starting job straight away.
Yeah, for sure.
They both got they're both again like this is. I know you mentioned this many times. This is a great QB class that we got out of the draft.
Yep.
That kind of thing. It just really comes down to what the team decides to do with them.
Yeah, for sure.
Mm.
I guess my
But
two cents
I
on
think
it would be everyone already knows. Everyone who listens to this already knows my opinions on Allen. I think Allen is amazing and he has the potential to be as good as Carson Wentz, like without a doubt. Whether or not he
and
can get his accuracy up to where it needs to be is a different story altogether. But as far as just talent goes and his ability to play at the NFL level, 100%, I'm sure about it.
pretty much
With
that. Yeah.
with
And
Rosen, on the
with
other hand,
yeah.
from what I've seen from him, I just feel backup is just written all over him. Hey, I hate to say it because like he was projected to be like one or two out of the draft, and then all of a sudden, here I am saying that he could be a backup. He might not be that good.
And
Um,
you know what? That might be the best for the franchise.
it might be. I mean, but Bradford is gonna be like knocked around, and they signed this kid. They moved up in the draft. They were like, this is gonna be our QB of the future, and I just don't see that from him.
Fair enough.
Um, but yeah, so hopefully he can prove me wrong against the Cowboys defense and shred them up. But only time can tell. Do you want to quickly go through the preseason games next week? There's not going to be any starters playing, so we won't go through and do like predictions or anything. But is there any game next week that you see that really stands out to you?
To be honest, yeah, not like again like it's just one of those wait and see sort of things with preseason.
Yeah,
You know,
I don't
they're
know.
like oh they're looking forward to that kind of thing. You know,
Yeah,
yeah,
there's,
but like
there's there's no game here where I'm like, oh, I really can't wait to see that team's second or third string offense go up against that team's
yeah,
second or third string defense. It's like, okay,
I pretty much agree with you on that note.
um, maybe like the best game we'll see next week might be like, I'm really struggling to even pick it. Maybe like the Cardinals Broncos. Like get to see Allen playing against a pretty decent outfit, depending on who they trot out there. But yeah, um, maybe
Um,
I'm really not seeing like obviously I'll watch the Eagles Jets game because I'll be watching Donald and my Eagles, see how we go there. I'm guessing you're going to tune into the Patriots game against the Giants.
yeah, I mean that's an interesting matchup there.
Um, but yeah, hopefully there's no major
And it's
injuries to
kind of
any of the starting players.
yeah,
Teams will finalize their 53 going into week one.
yeah. Mm.
Um,
I think just two other games that really stand out to me is Texans Cowboys.
yep.
That you got, as we mentioned, the Cowboys with their O line struggling, and the Texans looking like a pretty solid outfit for the season. So
Mhm.
I'd say it would be pretty interesting in my books.
Yep.
Another interesting one is Saints Rams, which will be I truly believe that will be very offense oriented.
Oh, if they were trotting out their first stringers, that'd be game of the week easily, far and away.
Yeah.
But since they're trotting out second and third stringers, I'm not super interested in that game. But yeah, I think that's it for this week. Next week will be the last week of preseason. We'll be wrapping up the games that happened, talking about the 53-man rosters and who got left out, if there's any noticeable things there. And then we'll make our predictions for week one of the NFL regular season.
There we go.
So thank you guys for tuning in this week. This should be live next Sunday at about 8:30 p.m. Australian time. I can hope to see you next week.
Alrighty.
Greg, do you want to sign off?
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Yeah. Alrighty. Thanks for tuning in, guys, and we'll see you next week.